Good morning, everyone. Okay, welcome to this segment of the Entrepreneurship Workshop. I think we already started the day from the other side. I hope we've all enjoyed a cup of tea because you need the energy as we go into this session. So just to welcome everyone. I know the registrations were in numbers. I'm sure some people will join us along the way. Now, before we commence this part of the workshop, I'll ask Sister Virginia Masite to just open for us in prayer. Thank you so much. Leader, director at Lusaka conference. He's got other portfolios that he manages. But for this purpose, we introduce him as our stewardship director. He'll be interacting with us later in the day as well. So he's not just a participant, but he'll also be speaking to us at some point. Because there's lunch, you can indulge us. We've brought in an external person, and because of the late start, I know our body works around 13 hours, but for this purpose, we might have to stretch it a little bit beyond 13, then do lunch, and then come back. But also in our midst, we have Mr. Richard Mwenya. He's an engineer. He does some consultancy and things like that. We thought as part of the program, we get the practical side of running a business, but we also get some testimonials from people that are running businesses, and we can get one or two ideas from there. So please pay attention as the presentations will go through. We'll allow for Q&A because it's meant to be interactive. So our speaker, the one I'm introducing now, is Mr. Bruno Mwemba. He's actually a member of the church. I think he goes to university. For me, I was doing a bit of Jacaranda University, then some people decided to visit me at home when I was at university and convinced us to come back to Jacaranda. I'm sure they're very pleased they did that. I'm more pleased because I just used to go for main service and out. You know, there are too many numbers there. But here you can't hide. You have to participate, and there's so much joy in participating, isn't it? Amen. Okay, so Mr. Bruno Mwemba is a founder of Panuka Farms. He's also a consultant to the United Nations, I think mostly the UNDP. I think under his portfolio, he manages quite a number of countries. At my last count, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, I think probably about 18 countries, stretching all the way into Nigeria. As we were discussing this, he was in Namibia. So we are pleased that he could find time to come and share with us. Most of us remember him from the historic visit by Kamala Harris, the US Vice President. If you remember, on his itinerary, there was a farm that they went to visit. That schedule was very tight, very few assignments, and one of them was to visit his farm. So I think that's the pedigree of the person that will be sharing with us. So he's got so much to share. So let me not take too much time in the introduction, but rather get into it. So Mr. Mwemba, you're welcome to Jacaranda International Community Church. Thank you for honoring our invitation. We don't take it for granted. And now the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. It's exciting to be here. Interesting, I was just telling him that it's the first time. I actually didn't know where the church was. But here I am. So thank you so much. I have been requested to come and make a presentation. Maybe the lights can be dimmed, so that... I don't know, why is it not showing? Because here it's moving. It was behaving then. Technology always behaves like this. When there's no one, it's behaving, and then when people come, it decides to throw some tantrums. Okay, anyway, as technology people come, so my name is Bruno Mwemba, and as ably introduced, I run a small, and I must insist, it's not a large. I run a small farming enterprise, except what we've decided is to just manage it a bit differently. So it's not your chillala kind of farm. In 15, 20 minutes, you can, I think, finish just going around it. That's who we are. So, as you will note, when technology decides to come round, we will run through quite a few interesting things. I know the invitation was saying finance, but finance for me is not always the biggest challenge. I think there are other pieces to... Is it okay now? Or not yet? Okay. So there are other things that we will look at, and then we'll also speak to issues around, finance, and look at just what potential opportunities that are there. But maybe as we trying to manage technology, how many people here are really farming, and those that are just intending to farm? Just to get a sense of who is in the room. You're farming, okay? There was a mic here. Just want to get a sense of what you're farming, and so that I know exactly what we are dealing with here. I might end up speaking to people that should actually teach me. Yeah, and just a sense of, what are people farming? You can start from yourself. Okay. 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 On the learning side. Okay. So you are intending to farm cattle, not to keep cattle, eh? Oh, okay. Just a couple of weeks ago, someone introduced me to the difference, eh? There's a huge difference between keeping cattle and farming cattle, eh? Yeah. Huge difference. Yeah. Anyone wants to share? I just want to get a sense of, and those that are intending, what are you planning to do? And what's been the battle? What's been the issue? So the batteries are coming to show? Okay. Oh, there's another mic there, yes. Yes, go ahead. Oh, it's not working?
I'm not farming yet. I'm intending to. So the plan is to get into aquaponic farming. That's fish farming integrated with hydroponic farming. That's
Okay.
to do with leafy greens. That's the lettuce, spinach, and the like.
Okay. What kind of lettuce? Or you don't know yet?
I don't know yet.
Okay. Interesting. Yes, next. Those that are intending, what are you planning to farm?
I've been doing maize and beans, but now I intend to branch off into
No, you can remove.
horticultural irrigation farming.
Okay.
So I need help.
Now, horticulture is a sea of things. What exactly within the horticulture are you planning to do?
Peppers,
Okay.
other like crops.
Okay, good. We have great resource for you for those, because that's our specialization. Not yet? Okay, yeah. Let's. Who else wants to share? The ladies? Yeah.
We tried with my sister to grow some soya beans on my father's farm.
Tried, okay. And how was the trial?
Well, it was a good one for the start,
Okay.
because my cousin had told us in Chipata
Mm-hmm.
that people were scared to try out soya beans because of the rainfall
Yeah,
and everything
yeah.
else. But likely, we managed,
Okay.
for
That's good.
starters.
Okay. Okay, anyway, in the interest of time, maybe we can get going. So what we'll do is that the first stage of this presentation, I'll look at the Puka Journey. Why am I doing that? Unfortunately, just like any other undertaking now, there's so many motivational speakers that have come in these spaces. So I think it's best that I start with my journey, so that I can probably earn my place to speak to you and see that we are not just regurgitating some theories, Googled stuff. And then after that, we will look at briefly just the key stages of a farming enterprise. And then we'll also look at some lessons, and then introduce you to what we're calling the Puka Agri-Biz Hub. And then we get to Q&A. So the first section will be very quick, so that we can focus on the lessons. So, the Puka Journey. This is me around 2010. This is a place called Mbabala. Who knows where Mbabala is? Okay, yeah. So I grew up in Mbabala, in Choma, as you're heading to Mapanza there. Well, I'm originally a Kopala, but then, they go back to the land. In 1990, saw me finding my way back to the roots, okay? Now, I'm showing you this. I heard her saying she was farming at the father's farm, because this is my father's farm. Quite massive, about almost 400 hectares. And I started farming maize. I actually used to do quite very well, even got a tractor. In the corner there is my father and me having a meal. But on this trip, you can actually see the way the maize looks. I wasn't pleased. It wasn't looking very good. Now, what used to happen is that I used to hammer 320 Ks from Lusaka, one way, 6 hours, 12 hours round trip, and mainly maize farming. And then I started realizing that some things are actually not going right with the way I was doing things. Because I was doing quite a bit of maize. I would do like even 50 hectares of maize. But then this year, I made a huge, huge loss, because I was literally farming so remote. Because I'm only going maybe every after 2-3 weeks, go and check. But then at this point, it was actually very difficult to remedy anything. Things had actually gone sour. So, with a bit of knowledge that I had, I decided to start my own little enterprise. So from 400 hectares, I bought 1.9 hectares. From 400 hectares, got 1.9 hectares in Mungule here, closer to me. And this is the land. There, and that's my old Pajero there. Bare land. This is 2017. Literally bare. And we started working on this little land. Mark is 1.9 hectares. From 400, eh? And you see now, mindset shift. Because in my view, even me back then, because I grew up on a 400-hectare farm, for me, the definition of farming was what? Land size. I need big land. And every time I find anyone who hears that I'm farming, the first question they ask me, how big is your land? And usually the moment I hear that, I know, oh dear, here we go again. Okay? So that's the land. So we started siting for water. This day, actually, we were siting for water. And we now did collection of soil samples. This guy is called Eric Mwenda. Who knows Eric Mwenda? He's worked for Syngenta, and he calls himself Mr. Tomato. Yeah? So I called him this day, come and look at my land, who can do soil testing. And then basically we started the right way. This day, purchased fencing. That's me with my guys. We want to fence the 1.9 hectares. And then found this gentleman, Rastaman, very good at fencing, eh? Yeah, so he's the one who did our fence, 1.9 hectares. One of the quickest lessons here is, when you are starting, make sure that you associate yourselves with people that know how to do things. Avoid shortcuts. Whether it's fencing, and I want you to see the first things that I was actually doing. You need to fence your land first, because if you want to actually farm as a business, if you want to farm where you have to squabbles because the goats from your neighbor have eaten then that's a recipe for disaster. We move on. We started, after fencing, water. And these are my boys back then. The other one is now in grade 11, eh? Yeah? So this was way back. We started now finding water. Water is life. Don't go crazy. Setting up your farm before you actually are certain you have enough water. Because when you actually talk about issues around scaling or any other agricultural enterprise that you're going to set up, without water, unfortunately, that place can actually become what we call a white elephant in project finance. And we'll talk about that. Okay? So, water. Next, we need farm dwellings. We need the first worker to stay on the farm. Eh? And look at the structure that we started. That's the structure. My office was under the mango tree. Can you see where my Pajero is? Eh? I'm sure she remembers the mango tree because she's been to the farm. This was our office. So we parked there and then established. This house, we did it in one day. It costed me 3,500 kwacha. Nothing too complicated, right? You see that? Easy. And we finished it one day. So we partitioned it. The other side, the first guy, the worker, was sleeping there. The other side was a storeroom on the 1.9 hectares. Next, additional water. Because I started now realizing that the earlier boreholes we had drilled, for what we wanted to do, it wasn't going to be enough. And that's another lesson. Regardless of how angelic a borehole looks, even one, you see my borehole is 5 what? No, there's climate change now, eh? I remember one of my neighbors, he had cabbage, and this, you actually used to talk about this borehole. My borehole is very good, it's got a lot of water. And then at some point, this borehole gives up at a time when the cabbage is blossoming. And then when he cited for water, they actually told him that where he needs to drill is exactly where the cabbage was. So he had to clear some cabbage to save some of his cabbage. Okay? So make sure you set up your water systems. So you see, again, the setup continues. We're putting up some of this infrastructure. And then, 2015, do you remember that we had the similar issue that we are undergoing now? Load shedding, eh? Remember? I decided to actually go completely off-grid. One of the things he indicated, I do environmental finance for the UN and, many other countries. And for me, it was also part of an example because people were actually debunking, can you manage a farming enterprise on solar? Scale matters, of course, but if you're actually doing a sizable farming enterprise, I wanted to actually prove, and I can indicate 10 years now, I don't have Zesco on all my farms. And I have no intention of bringing Zesco. Okay? So this is the solar that we went through and started setting up our irrigation system. Again, I had to go proper water engineers to help me set up. Okay? I hope you're picking lessons, eh? Yeah? Not, that one says he can also do. No. Proper water engineers. Next, 10th July 2017. After everything now, remember we've done the water, we've done all these other bits, we assembled. It was quite an exciting day. My wife is there, my kids, they were very small back then. We planted the first crop. Our first crop was actually broccoli and cauliflower. Very interesting story. I was in Food Lovers back then. I'm going through and I check the price of broccoli and cauliflower. My God, it was very good. And then what do? I just go and buy seedlings. I think there were 2,000 of broccoli and 2,000 of cauliflower. My first ever crop. And we'll pick up some of the lessons. And this broccoli and cauliflower was growing very nicely. And then this happens. What can you see? Especially on the left. What are you able to see in the broccoli? I don't know if the lighting is okay. What are you able to see? Yeah, some green stuff, right? So, what happened on this day? We got an order from Food Lovers. I remember actually it was Food Lovers, the one near the airport. And I personally had to deliver because it's the first one. I took it myself. We had wrapped it nicely and then I'm waiting there. And I even started using the calculators we always do. I'm punching, okay, this one per head is so much. Here I was rich, even before I delivered. So now there's a queue for us, when you're delivering. You're waiting. And then, just about 2 people before I actually delivered, I see those things start coming out now. What's this again? Green maggots start coming out. Now I start sweating. And then this guy now says, hey, Mr. Mwemba, bring the broccoli. Actually, we are waiting. A lot of customers are waiting. And then he comes closer and says, Bwana, what is this? I mean, he was experienced enough and he knew exactly what was going on. Now, this was around October. And he says, if you don't want to be banned to ever supply Food Lovers, you better disappear before management sees this. Because otherwise you'll be blacklisted. And that's how I wrapped up these things and went to the farm. Now you can imagine, this is your first ever delivery. I had calculated. They even said, since you are the only one with broccoli around this time, they even gave me advance orders. And then that happens. So we go in the field, now we start seeing all that. And then, just like anyone else, after broccoli, after that baptism, what do? I abandoned broccoli and cauliflower. And went where? Tomato. And started farming tomato. And you can see, we were doing pretty well. Farming tomato, Soweto, you do 1 hectare, next, now you want to overdo it. And then at some point, tomato became actually cheaper to leave it in the field than to take it to the market. You just look at it. You are calling the guys at Soweto, no one is picking the phone. Natural instinct, what do? So abandon it. Because that's what we all do. The moment you encounter any issues, next. We think the next thing is easier. You see that? Roller coaster. So I went in sweet pepper and became very good at it. You can actually see a lot of sweet pepper that we were producing back then. And then these things start happening again. Everywhere I go, there are problems. This is called blossom end rot in sweet pepper. You actually find it also in tomatoes. Then these things start happening again. Everywhere I go, there are problems. This is called blossom end. What's up? Okay. Next issue, we start seeing now. This is called sun scout as well. We got hit on the pepper. I was like, now should I also migrate again to the next one? This was the third trial. But then I started investing a bit in knowledge to understand what was going on. To say, you can't keep running. Almost every enterprise that you do has risks. Okay? So you can't keep changing from one crop to the next, one livestock to the next. Everything that you ever do has risks. Okay? That's another point. So I started studying. This condition is called sun scout. This is not a disease. When the pepper is hammered by sunlight, it creates that patch. And unfortunately, this thing becomes, you can't sell it. So the solution to this is that you need to protect your pepper, okay? Or make sure that it's got enough foliage. And protection means you either have a shade net or a greenhouse. Now, that is where the issues around climate resilience and adaptation starts coming in. You are now adapting to nature. Anyway, there was a bit of shift. This is okra. You can see, I also did okra, impwa. I've literally done almost 30 different crops. 30. Yeah. Until I repented and stopped running from one crop to the next. This is brinjal. You can see green beans. Who knows what this is? This is zucchini, squash. So now, even people at Soweto and other places, they knew that Vajava general player, you know, you can find everything and anything from that man. Except certain times when they call, I don't have this because I've moved on. You see that? Master of none. This was impua. Very interesting. On here, we did impua. We didn't actually take into account the spacing for impua. Now, when it grew, we couldn't even pass. So we had to remove one line when it had grown. One line after the other. Lessons. Then moved to cabbage. You see that? Cabbage. Plenty of it. This one here is called baby cabbage. Also, I was motivated by price. I see good price for baby cabbage, I overplant it. When it's ready, I think I had like maybe 10,000. And then the buyer was only asking for 300 heads in a week. So what happens? It overgrows and you throw the rest. Then I went in strawberry farming. You see that? Went in strawberry farming. So that's our strawberry farm. Pushed the numbers, I think, to almost 15 to 20,000 population. That's me there. Strawberry farming. Became a big strawberry farmer. Roller coaster. Then I went to watermelon. Then back to cabbage. You see that? More cabbage, that's me there. Then, and this was my first ever vehicle for on the farm. I didn't have a vehicle for. I actually used just my same office vehicle is the one where I'm putting the veggies. So I got this one from what's this? Syngenta actually. You know, they auctioned this. The interesting thing is that I actually got this because of the cabbage. And this is us packing the cabbage in that van. The interesting thing is, by the time one batch of cabbage was finished, this van was also finished. Because cabbage is heavy. Okay? Now, remember I said we started thinking around protected farming, because of the paper. So now there was like a voice that whispered to me to say, no, if you want to go greenhouse, do it yourself. If you go to the shop and get greenhouses, it's too expensive. So start putting this thing yourself. And we started putting ourselves now. We built a greenhouse, the first one, because now we want to migrate. Okay? And we even had the first crop in there. This was beautiful. What happens? This thing collapsed. 120,000 worth of a greenhouse, it collapsed. One little whirlwind, boom, 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 down. Huh? Can you stomach what I've gone through? Huh? Can you survive? Can you survive? You can, eh? Oh, that's nice. Oh, yeah. I like that. That's very good positivity. The fact that others are still standing. The only lesson I can tell you, the issues that I have outlined, you are better off trying some of these things when you still have what we call recourse. And the recourse, if you work, you do these things when you still have employment. Because if you're using retirement money and you're undergoing what would happen? Yeah. Depression. And I can tell you that I consult a lot of farmers, retirees. I have seen lots of things. Serious confessions. Okay? So, I repented and I realized never again am I going to start doing experiments when it comes to infrastructure for a farm. Always go for a tried and tested technology. Even if you want to buy a tractor, and then you go and find the Chongqing tractor, who has ever used that tractor that you want to buy just because it's cheap? Always go for tried and tested technology. He's a banker here. He will tell you that I'm an infrastructure project finance expert. One of the things that we look at in infrastructure project finance is who has used this technology and how long has it been? Don't go and look for something, it's new on the market. Hey, Bwana, who knows about this thing? So there's a reason why you find the Kubota tractor, Mahindra, which other ones are Massey Ferguson. There's a reason the John Deere's, there's no experiments. It has worked. So don't try and be the guinea pig. I tried to do what? To do my own greenhouse. Invented my own. But then I realized there's what works. And I had to look for what works. Not one. Why am I insisting on one? Grow too quickly when you're just starting on something. Okay? Just go to one greenhouse and tried that greenhouse. When it worked, this is how it was. It was the only one. Then, based on this, we now had a proof of concept on how this thing worked. We started doing our fertility trenches. Then, after that, we got some money through a World Bank facility, a $32 dollar, based on the traceability of the things that we were doing. Now, one of the things I must actually indicate is that all these things that I went through, what have you picked so far? Documentation. We are not very good at documenting our journey because we love to farm in secrecy. Farming in secrecy. You're not documenting what goes on. When it comes to things like impact investment, you want to get money, say, from World Bank or wherever, these guys invest in solving problems. So don't be shy in parading your problems. I'm not talking about bedroom problems, but business problems. Okay? Don't be shy. Okay? And from that money, we started now growing. You see that? With tried and tested greenhouses. And more solar. You see that? And then, look at the products now that's coming out. Beautiful. Right? More expansion. You see that? Look at the papers. Tried and tested. The technology is right. You see the kind of products that started coming out now? Okay? And then, finally, we were in ShopRite. And as I speak to date, we are amongst the leading suppliers of ShopRite, and we supply every day at ShopRite from that journey. And here, I got my father, took him to ShopRite, and then said, are these your products? I said, yes. He was extremely very happy. So, back. Do you remember this land? 1.9 hectares. From this to this. Okay? From this, same land, to this. Same land. This is the same land. This is a 10,800 square meter shed net we recently did. It's an addition. So, I want us to pause. And are you seeing yourself in the picture there? Yeah. So she came with the managing director to our farm for an M&E visit. Okay? And other than that, then we had also the US Vice President coming to our farm. That same farm that started as what? Bare land. Okay, I want to pause there and send the mic. What have you picked up so far? Resilience, huh? Anyone wants to speak? What have you picked up so far?
I think the most fierce thing that I've picked up is learning. Like you said, 30 crops. I don't think I can hold on for that long. 30. So it's all about learning and getting the right knowledge at the right time. Then you come up with a... I'm sure you went through a lot for you to establish what you've just established there.
Yes. Okay. Anyone else?
Well, the lessons are many.
Okay.
I think one of them is that you need to learn to use professionals who will do something that will last. The try and error age is on.
Yeah. Okay.
My take-home message here is that big surprises come in small packages. You have to start small, learn your journey, know where you're going, know what you're doing, and the rest is history.
Okay, great. So, based on what you have seen, I want us to just look at one slide. In the book on farming as a business, which I have done, which I'll introduce you to later, I do introduce these growth stages of a farming enterprise. The first stage is what is called pre-establishment. And then, from pre-establishment, you move to actual establishment. And then there's a third stage, which I call the survival. And then early growth. From there, you go to what is called rapid, and then maturity. I classify our farming enterprise as being on the 4th stage now, on early growth. We've just gone through the turbulences and survived. Okay? I hope from what I have presented to you, are you able to see where we were when we talk about pre-establishment, the establishment, when we were doing the water and all that, that's actual establishment. The survival is where you try so many things and then you have what is called a proof of concept. Once you have a proof of concept and then say, okay, this is what I'm going to do now, then you focus on that. Then it's that which then gets into this early growth and rapid growth and all the way to maturity. Now, there's a tendency for people, especially when you have money, you have just retired, you got gratuity, you got a loan, to move from pre-establishment rapidly to rapid growth, skipping all these stages. And most of the people, they actually come to a stage even before pre-establishment for some reason afterwards, which is literally running away from farming. And those people, you hear them, farming, yeah, chave, you know. You see that? Because you went in too rapidly. So one of the things that I would actually encourage you and look at these growth stages is that you need to make sure that you move one step at a time, even if the money is there. 3 years ago, I had one gentleman who apparently actually used to be head of one, I will not mention since him is a banker here. But he was quite a high-ranking bank official in one of the international banks. So when he retired, he got very good money and came to the farm. And then he sees my operation back then and says, Moiche, this is not what I was expecting. You know, for me, the definition of farming, Moiche, you should talk about a center pivot, Moiche. You know, you could see he was very, for him, I'm an ex-banker, by the way. Are you aware that I worked for Invest Trust Bank? Yeah. We are the ones that set up the corporate finance. Yeah. You know? So, when you work in a bank especially, and then you go and see other people's farms, you see, you also start seeing yourself like, you see that? Even when you start your own thing, you want to be at that level immediately. You forget that here you are an employee who goes to see this big farm. And I could see, because he used to actually head, you know, one of the departments that used to lend money. And he used to deal with the big boys. For him, the definition of a farm was something very big, immediately center pivots and, you know. And he was actually very disappointed. You know, farming, you know, it has to be something big. And obviously, having been a head of, and then he goes and says, no, I'll call you so that you come and see the real farming. I say, no, I'll come, boss. So he goes. He made spectacular mistakes and became a good example of how not to farm. So one moment, I'm at livestock, and then I just see this man. You know, health was not very okay. So, you want to come here? You chap, you should have told me properly. You know, this thing I almost lost my life. I think he invested around 4 to 5 million in things that never brought any money. He fell victim to, remember the Moringa issue, cassava issues, and immediately went and established some humongous, you know, made huge mistakes. What does he do next? He had retired, He had to look for a job back. And as I'm speaking, he's gone back into banking. So, respect these stages, even if you have money. Otherwise, they will humble you. Learn. There's a saying that life on a farm is a school of what? Patience. You can't harry the crops or make an ox in 2 days. Forget. So the first thing, I like, who talked about knowledge? Someone, yeah. You need to understand that when you start this enterprise, you yourself first need to learn the technical aspects of this enterprise. And then you also have to dance to the rhythm of what? Nature. Because nature has its own course, eh? Whether it's the crops or whatever. The last thing, the third one, is the issue of farm growth. Farming needs money. Those motivational speakers, no, you see, I started with what? One grain of what? Farming at a certain level requires money. So you need to make sure that you also immerse yourself in the knowledge on how to raise money. Unless you want to remain gardening and not farming. Okay? If it's gardening, that's a different ballgame altogether. But if you're really looking at farming as a business, you need to master how to raise money. Okay. What I'm going to do now is that, who remembers the 4 factors of production? What's the first one? Land. Second one? Huh? Capital, eh? Okay. Third one? Labor. The fourth one? What's the 4th factor of production? Huh? Entrepreneurship. But for us, we are going to call it what? Agripreneurship. So, land, labor, capital, and agripreneurship. Now, what I would do is that under these 4 factors of production, I will just highlight 1 or 2 of my most topical lessons that I have picked up in my 10 years as a farmer. Let us start with land. This is my own saying, that farming is about productive use of land and not in mere possession or ownership, regardless of land size. You see, when you come to the church board or in the morning, I'm sure you hear those people, I have 1,000 hectares of land and it's near a river. You hear those stories, eh? The question is, now that you have 1,000 hectares and it's near a river, what have you done? What is it bringing? Farming by its nature is about what? Productive use of any size of land. So I hope today you will not be asking people how big is your land, but how productive is your land. Ask people about what they're getting in terms of maize. What's our average yield of maize in Zambia? What's our average yield? Per hectare? Metric tons? Huh? 8? No. By the way, as farmers, seriously, these finer details or numbers, make sure they are on your fingertips, eh? Yeah? What's our average yield of maize in Zambia? It's actually 1.8, 1.9. If you want to round it up, it's 2 metric tons per hectare, which is extremely very low compared. Actually, the Africa average is about 5, but I can tell you that in Zambia, some of the commercial farmers hit up to 10 metric tons per hectare. In Zimbabwe, there was also what they're calling the 10-ton, even 15-ton club, where most of these commercial farmers are actually competing on who gets the best out of 1 hectare. Now, if an average Zambian is getting 2 metric tons per hectare, and then you have a commercial farmer in Mukushu who gets 10 per hectare, you need 5 hectares to catch up with this guy who is doing what? 1 hectare. And what we are doing now is we're clearing more land so that you can catch up to plant the hectares. So you get 1.7, then you need to invest in what? Knowledge. So that even 5 hectares is more than enough. Because if you do 10 metric tons per hectare, that's 50 in 5 hectares. Okay? The second issue is farm proximity really matters in farming as a business. I told you I used to farm where? In Mbabala. How many hectares? 400. But it was very difficult for me to go and monitor. So even if you are given 1,000 hectares in Zambezi, which is very good and very fertile near the Zambezi River, are you sure you're actually going to manage that farming enterprise? Huh? Yeah. So before you go about getting excited, I've learned location of the land really matters in relation to the market. And let me just highlight exactly what that entails. Our business model ourselves is what is called B2B, where we do chain stores. Most of the chain stores, even if you are farming I know one guy who actually does bananas in Kasama, still has to bring the bananas where? Here in Lusaka to deliver. And then somehow they also go back to ShopRite, Kasama. It's a system. That's just how it works. So you need to know where is your market and make sure that even if the land is expensive, you are actually better off buying that land for as long as it's closer to your market, because it will save you a lot of headaches. And the headaches come in the form of just obviously the distance, but also the issue of the infrastructure quality. And I've gone through these things where your delivery truck gets stuck, the road is not good, because especially if you supply the chain stores, they have a time frame when you actually need to deliver. By 10 hours, you need to deliver. One of my clients, we supply them green beans. We also have a specific time frame, because then they have to send the trucks now to take the produce across the country. The moment you are 30 minutes late, this guy will tell you, go back with your produce. So distance really matters. So don't buy land anyhow, anywhere, just because it's fertile. Proximity really matters. Otherwise, that land of yours will remain what? A souvenir. You know what a souvenir is? Or something you just give your children as inheritance. But when you're talking about productive use of that land, now, make sure that you pay attention to where that land is, and then the accessibility of that land to your market. And let me give you one example of how that played out. Our farms are all in, Mungule area. When we used to do broiler chickens, if you do broiler chickens, you sell between 0.2 and 0.6. You are aware, if you're doing, what's this, wholesale market. You don't know that? You know, eh? If you're doing wholesale market for broiler chickens, you sell between about 0.2, 0.3 to about 6 hours. At 6 hours, all those who are doing wholesale market are actually chased out of the market, because it's time for the retailers now to start selling. Okay? Now, what happens is that, actually what used to happen is that you get your chickens from the farm, bring at SOS. You know where SOS village is, eh? Because that's a market for chickens. So you bring the chickens there, and then somehow, maybe the market loves chickens, and they order immediately, we need another 1,000 chickens. Now you can imagine, your farm is how many kilometers? Say 100 kilometers away from, it's impossible. You miss out on the market. For us, because of proximity to market, we'll dash back to the farm within 0.2 to 6 hours. So you find sometimes, we used to do batches of about 2,000, 2,500 every 6 weeks. You find in 2 days, your 2,000 chickens are gone. But we took advantage of the fact that we were very closer to the market, because if these guys love the chickens, they order again. But we had farmers where they would tell you, because farm but the market dynamics tomorrow will be different. I hope you understand the impact of the location of your farming enterprise in relation to farming as a business. So then the other issue is you need to invest in logistics. Even a little van, did you see where I started from? Eh? These are our delivery vans, the trucks. But where did I start? You saw like a vehicle, eh? Yeah. But you need to have something that moves to the market. Because if you don't, it becomes very difficult for you to farm as a business, because you might not deliver when the client wants you to deliver. Okay? Let's move to the big one, labor. With labor, I am saying, regardless of how sophisticated your farm equipment is, if you get it wrong on labor, you are bound to fail. It doesn't matter how much money you put in. If you don't organize yourself well in terms of labor, you may as well take that money for treasury bills on bonds and stop farming. Because this will mess you up. And when I'm talking about labor, you must understand that this includes the farm owner. Because there's a tendency to think labor is them. Then you are there. When the farm fails, you see, they messed me up. No. Buana, you failed the farm. So labor includes yourself as a farm owner. Okay? So you need to make sure that you are also set up the right way, with the right mindset and knowledge to set up what you're going to do. I can tell you that if you have nothing to offer, the workers can easily see that this one is just putting money. But upstairs, is empty. It's very easy. And unfortunately, the moment the workers detect that all you are putting in is money, no technical know-how, things will start going wrong. You need to be in charge, even from a technical perspective. What I have done over the years, we've run this thing for 4 years now. We run what is called the graduate trainee program. Because I realized I was inheriting problems every time I recruited staff from some farm. No, that one came from that other farm. You actually largely inherit problems. So I decided to buy a computer where I put my own software. And what does that mean? I started what is called the graduate trainee program. Oh, it's not showing there. Oh, it is. Yeah? So what I do is that I get these graduates from universities and colleges, usually about 6 for every cycle. They come, stay on the farm for 6 months. We pay them. But then that's where we also identify talent. Because remember, to stay on a farm is beyond passing your entomology class. You find on a farm there are people who have not been to school, okay? So the interpersonal skills also matters a lot. So you need to make sure that this graduate really passes the litmus test beyond the technical know-how. I have seen people who are kind of smart technically, but when it comes to social aspects, the interpersonal skills, very bad. And unfortunately, if there's no chemistry between the so-called manager and the workers, your farm is going down. So put a premium on making sure that whoever comes somehow is fit for purpose. And so for me, I've 100% stopped recruiting people from. I get them from university. They go through this graduate training program. That was my first cohort. 2 of those girls are still with me. This cohort, only one survived, Modric. And then that cohort, also only one. So you find even if I bring 6, they stay with me for 6 months, only one passes the litmus test. It's that stringent. But usually, once they pass the litmus test, I have less problems. You find fit for purpose. So try by all means to learn to build your own stuff. Let's look at capital. When we say capital in Zambia, what do we mean? It's money, right? Capital. Now here we'll discuss a few interesting things, some of them which are boring. But these boring things that I'll talk about is what is bringing the most money now. So if you are dozing, it's time to just briefly wake up, and then you can go back and sleep. Okay? These are the 5 C's of finding money. Number 1 is called character. Number 2 is called capacity. The third one is capital. The fourth is collateral. 5 is called conditions. But I want us to zero in on just the 3, which is character, capacity, and conditions. Number 1, when it comes to character, there are different sources of finding money. You can also borrow from what we call F&F, friends and family. Now, in your circle, you might think these things don't work. But I can tell you, when you're running a farming enterprise at a certain level, even at the highest level, commercial farmers and whatever, they have a very strong network, especially of friends. Because it's not every time that you get money from banks or any other sources of money. So for me, the first line of defense when it comes to fundraising, in all honesty, should actually be family and friends. But that only works on what we call reciprocity. What is that in English? Huh? What does reciprocity mean? Yeah, scratch my back, I scratch yours. Yeah. You cannot have a situation where in your circle, you are the only one who always needs money. When your other friends need money, you don't have. That thing is going to cut at some point. The supply to you will dry up. Okay? But I can tell you that works. 3-4 years ago, I was just telling a friend of mine, we work together at Investors, by the way, in corporate finance as well. He runs a microfinance. And then I'm just like, hey, in Coco, oh, how many? I said, Doc, I'm bringing in 4,000 beds. How much do you need? It's a casual discussion. I said, no, I need about 400. Anyway, send me an account. You see that? He financed 388,800. I remember the figure. Just like that. But you know why? Character. He believed in me. You see that? So you need to make sure that you invest a lot in having a very good circle. But that circle must be useful. Because there are circles where you are the only hero. One-way traffic. You are the big buyer. So when you need something, it's not there. So make sure that the issue of reciprocity, you fix that in terms of character. But also, obviously, pay back the money. Because if you don't, that supply is going to cut. Having managed farming enterprises, one of the things is that even if you've got access to money from the banks and whatever, sometimes you go there and then you're just told the animal is sick, you don't have money. Who do you call? Someone within your network. If you don't have a network, your farming journey is going to be hard, if not almost impossible. Okay? You've seen what is called the Msekese Tree office there. You are probably wondering, what does this mean? Part of the character, remember, is beyond just you as an individual, but also the corporate entity of what you're starting as a farming enterprise. There's a tendency, even when you've been farming for 10 years, every time we go to the farm, we just hang around the Msekese tree and have meetings there. There's nowhere where we can sit and have proper discourse. But one thing I'll tell you is that beyond a certain point, especially if you want to raise money, people start looking at the character of the enterprise itself. Is it behaving like a business, or it continues to behave like a Ntemba, where every time we go, we meet under a secretary? You will never be told these things, but I can tell you, at a certain highest level, these guys, if they want to come as World Bank, or the US Vice President, when they say we are coming to the farm to see whether the farm is suitable to host, the US Vice President, when I hosted her, she needed some rooms. One, she needed an operating theater, where they could set up a theater, a holding room where she needs to be. You see that? So all those things needed to be checked first to see whether I was fit. That's a corporate character. So much as you start small, beyond a certain point, you need to realize that you need to start behaving like a corporate entity so that you can attract certain mindsets. So don't continue behaving informally, because that speaks poorly about your corporate character. Is that making sense? Yeah. The issue of capacity, I think I talked to the issue of proof of concept. When you're looking for money these days, whether it's a grant, if there's no proof of concept, you've never done anything. So there's my good brother there who said he wanted to do leaf greens and aquaponics. Right? Have you ever done anything like that? Sorry to put you on the spot. At school. Okay. Yeah. So what happens when you actually start making applications, people start asking, it's those questions that, a girl child wants to get married, bomba, what? We call it a smell test in project finance. It's the same thing. When people come and they say, no, okay, so what, have you done? The same questions I'm asking you. Have you ever done this? And I look at the amount of money that you're looking for, and then you realize at the end, we can't finance you. And sometimes you will never be taught these things, but it's just because you have not demonstrated that you can actually do what you are intending to do. And this is the more reason why you sometimes have to look at partnerships with someone who has actually done it, who has a pedigree for what you're looking to do. Okay? So, proof of concept, very critical, and this is a big hindrance these days in terms of financing. The issue of conditions. Now, this is a big one as well. There's a concept that is called bankability, which is the acceptability of your application for funding, whether it's by a bank or any other funder. Now, this is where we have a big problem, because sometimes you just throw in applications without understanding what that institution stands for. What are they looking for? And usually this is where we have a lot of problems, because we don't understand. When we talk about impact investment, even the grants now, they have specific requirements for you to fit in, and that is called conditions. And this is why I said, I want you to look at these next slides, boring as they are, but this is your liberator. The first one is this complicated thing, what is called the triple bottom line theory. Who knows what this is? I know it sounds like you have gone back to school, but I can tell you, if you need to read up, these are the things you need to go and read up, because this is where the money is now. The big money is in these things. If you don't understand this, it's very difficult for you to put up most of the applications. But I can tell you there's a lot of money out there now, plenty. So, the triple bottom line basically says any enterprise must pursue profit, also what we call planetary objectives, which is the environment. The third one, you must invest in the people, the social aspect. Okay? So as a farming enterprise, you need to demonstrate that you are a profitable entity, but beyond that, what is your farming enterprise contributing in terms of environmental protection, which is the planet? If you can't do that, the chances of you getting money now is closer to zero. The third one, you hear about issues on gender, the youth. Don't set up these farms anyhow, where you only have you see, the old women or the old men are the most reliable when it comes to workforce. You will never get money. You need to be intentional about how you set up your farming enterprise. Make sure there's the right mix of youth, women, disabled, all those things, right? That is the issue on people. Please, boring, I know, but if you are looking for money for your farming enterprise, these are the things that bring money. He told you I'm in charge of Africa for some funding, whatever. These are the things that we look for. If you can't tick these boxes, then you are shunted. The next framework is what is called ESG. Who has heard about ESG? Yeah? Environmental, social, and governance. It's almost similar to Triple P. You're looking at environmental stewardship. So let me just give you an example. When you look at the things that I was telling you, how do you think Panuka Farm contributes in terms of environment? I know I mentioned some things. Who remembers some of the things? Yeah? Yeah, 100%. We are off-grid. Okay. What else? Yeah? Yeah? So the way you farm, and at some point I'm sure you saw fertility trenches, investing in the soil, okay? So there are a lot of things that you can actually put up in your farming enterprise that will tick quite a lot of these boxes. And I can't insist or emphasize. Then there's also the issue of governance and transparency. You are farming, there's no record of you having ever even had a meeting with your team. To start with, maybe there's even no team, it's just husband and wife. Husband and wife farm. There's certain money that you will never get. You will never be told, but for as long as this looks like just a family affair for survival, and then you're applying for some money, it's offending the governance and transparency. Again, I'm telling you, you will never be told these things. So when there's what is called the smell test, because some of these conversations start as a casual, no, you show up, we are presenting for a project proposal, so who is in charge? Who is the director? No, it's me, sir. And who is the, no, it's my wife. Oh, okay. And anyone else within the team? No, we are the directors. Oh, okay. You just see the conversation at some point, winds off, no money. You need to make sure that you set up a proper organogram, even as small as you are, that begins to demonstrate the issues around governance and transparency. These are the things that are bringing money. You can't tick this, you're gone. Who knows what these Rio conventions are? These are conventions on environmental protection. So there's a convention on climate change. I'm sure you hear, no, the president has gone to the COP. You hear those things, eh? Last year it was in Dubai. So that's a COP for climate change. There's one for biological diversity, and there's one on land degradation. Read these things. This is where the money is. I'm telling you now. So when you do an application and you can't demonstrate, even mention any of these things, you will never get the money. I'm telling you. The last one is SDGs. At least this one you probably know it. If you can't demonstrate also which SDG is your farming enterprise contributing to, you need to demonstrate this. Let me just look at, you've seen like there's one on zero hunger, clean water, climate action, life on land, responsible consumption and production. All those are SDGs. So be intentional about how you set up your farming enterprises. Don't set up these things anyhow. Understand these global frameworks and where you fit in so that when there's a proposal, you can easily fit in. Guess you see why I was saying these things are boring. But these boring things, this is where the money is. Okay? And I can tell you, there are things you can easily discuss with a funder. But if you can't demonstrate the alignment with these things that I've talked about, it's non-negotiable. You're out. Okay, we were discussing capital, so we dealt with the money issue. The other issue I wanted to talk about on capital is what is called white elephants. Who knows what that term means? When you say you have a white elephant. So a white elephant in project finance is basically infrastructure or any equipment that you acquire at a huge cost, but turns out useless on the farm. How many times have you gone to a farm? You go and find someone has dug fish ponds all over the farm. And then these things, there's no water, or there's no fish in there, or there's like chicken runs all over the place. They take you around, you see we have 10 chicken runs, but then there's no chicken in there. Or you go and find greenhouses all over the place. There's nothing inside there. or find a humongous 100 horsepower tractor. And then this thing is as new as it was bought, it's just there. You even pukuta a tractor. Huh? That's a white elephant. So you need to introspect on these things when it comes to capital. Don't just buy anyhow. On the left is the Hoy, and then on the right is Lionel Messi. Huh? Those that follow football know this gentleman, eh? Huh? Oh, yes. Now, what am I trying to demonstrate here in terms of infrastructure? If you want to make progress in your farming journey, you know what amateur football leagues are, eh? And Champions League. You know the difference? Jacaranda versus Barcelona, you know the difference, eh? Eh? We know the difference, eh? Yeah. You see, the people that play in Jacaranda or any other, you see, they are legends at local level. They are serious legends. But when it comes to Champions League football, that's a different ball game altogether. What am I talking about? You see, the Hoy is a legend, eh? We have fed with that Hoy for years, and it still continues to be a legend at local level. If you are looking at farming as a business and looking at going into the Champions League of farming, you need to make sure that you associate yourself with the Lionel Messis of farming. There's kind of machinery that will actually make you to score the goals and win the Champions League. If you will be shunted to the Hoy, you will be a local hero. Never get into the Champions League. Am I communicating something? So make sure that you introspect for what I'm trying to farm, which equipment will actually make me to do better. And I'll give you one example. Ourselves, we also started with a local legend, the Hoy. And then when the guys are tired, because the Misana now are, they start just fukilating the soil. Who knows what is called a soil pan, eh? They haven't dug there. And then when you plant, you actually see that, there's an evenness in the field. It's because you are stuck to that unreliable form. Then we went and bought very good equipment. Go and check on our YouTube channel. We've presented all these things. A bed former, which is combined. It's a bed former, it's a tiller in one. That thing is amazing. Because once you plow, say, with a tractor, and then it goes in, pulverizes the clothes, and then it makes the beds immediately, and, flattens it nicely. The moment you plant, in Tonga we call it gongolole. Eh? You know what gongolole is? Who knows that? Huh? Who can explain that? When you see the maize is very even, there's no taller maize, what that means is that your land preparation was done very well. The moment you see in a field there are mountains like that, just know that the land preparation is highly compromised. Okay? So, the moment we invested in that equipment, every time you check on our Facebook page, YouTube, you come and look at our crops, you actually see evenness. You invest in the Lionel Messis. In one day, we just plow, we have the drippers. We can actually, in 40 minutes, finish 1 hectare to prepare the beds, and then we roll the drippers in 1 hour. If you are using our local legend, for you to sort out 1 hectare with compromised quality, how many days? Even 2 weeks, if not more. Yeah. So it matters. If you really want to get into the Champions League of farming, introspect on exactly what delivers. Okay, let's look at quickly agripreneurship. You've heard of this term, a fish rots from the head down. Basically what this means is that if anything goes wrong on your farm, the head is wrong. Leadership really matters. The tendency to always blame, no, it's the workers, it's the what? No, 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 no. You failed to superintend over that enterprise as a farm owner. So you need to actually understand when it comes to agripreneurship, one of the biggest issues is to take responsibility of what's going on. Telephone farming. You know what this is, eh? Huh? I see my brothers laughing there. You know what that means? Are you a culprit at some point, eh? Farming on the phone. So how many cows do we have now? You know, you are in a sofa, huh? 2 weeks. Huh? Huh? No, 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 no. When it comes to real agripreneurship, presence matters. Now, what I'm saying is not that you need to resign from your job or whatever. I'm not a motivational speaker myself. You need to establish systems to monitor. And in what I'll talk about shortly, we have actually a training on our app that we are introducing that will help you in this. It says it's what you inspect that gets done, not what you do what you expect. If you don't inspect, things will never be done. Don't farm on the phone. Be present. This is critical. There are people, even for 10 years, who run their farms like a charitable entity, unknowingly. Unknowingly running like a what? Charitable entity. Yet they think they are running a farm as a business. You know why? Tracking numbers. They don't do that. There's no system, and somehow they're also not comfortable with the numbers. But we have a solution for you, which we'll talk about. And that's why we are now introducing what is called the Puka what? Agribusiness Hub, which is right here. Now, with the agribiz, you've seen that saying that says nothing changes until your mind does what? Changes. Even in the way you farm, if you don't invest in knowledge, there's very little that is going to change. The little progress we have made ourselves is because we have invested a lot in knowledge. And what we are trying to bring on the Puka Agribiz, which is an online platform, is to invest, to help you guys to invest much more in knowledge. And that's what this Agribiz Hub is all about. So do we have phones here that are connected to the internet? Do we have Play Store? Go on Play Store now. Play Store. We can find where Play Store is, eh? When you're on Play Store, type Puka Agribiz Hub. Play Store. So type that name, Puka Agribiz Hub. You found it? Yeah, so download. You have no bundles? Or you're on iPhone? Yeah. The elitists. Sorry, we are working on that, but we've started with the common man, Android. Is it happening? Okay. So if it asks you, you can set up your own PIN. If the PIN has issues, you can do 1111, the 4 of them. Just type 1111. Are you managing? Oh, it's downloading, huh? Oh, you're good? Is to go into the app. Yeah, so you can just quickly do that. When you're on that edge, the thing, just click on the year itself, and then you can scroll down to the actual year. It's just for demographics. Who has succeeded? How many are on iPhone here who have been excluded? Oh, even you? Sorry. Anyway. No, just like we have learned, we start small. Huh? You say? Oh, get started. So click there. And then you log in you just proceed. If it asks for the OTP, you put 1111, 4 of them. Yeah. You can either set up your own, but I'm just giving you, it's best that you set up your own if possible. Yeah. But in case you have challenges, you can just put 1111, 4 of them. Okay? So, when you manage, you note that we are now running very specific courses to try and address some of these issues. One, we have done a very comprehensive course on risk management fundamentals for a farming enterprise. Quite a very detailed, it's got almost 80 videos, one course. So at your own time at home, you can, once you finish logging in, you can, module 1 is actually free, but the other courses, this is, we have risk management and accounting fundamentals that we are loading now, and those are the prices, but module 1 is actually free for you to watch at any time, so that you sample the course materials, and yeah. Okay? Are we winning? Okay. Who has managed to go into the... You've clicked on the app itself. Click one course. By the way, there you also find our book, because this app also has what you call an e-book reader. If you want to read the Farming as a Business book right on the app, you can also buy 300 kwacha when you buy the book. Very good book that we've done. But for those that would require physical copies, we'll interact with the church leadership. But I think now e-book readers are the in thing. You've managed on one of the courses? Yeah. So on the course, when you click, like here, when you click on this plus, so you see, the moment you click there, we're good to go. You see that? You can put some volume so that people believe that it's working. Yeah. The moment you hear that song, then you know that you're in the right place. Okay? Are we good? Who has managed to go in, who needs help? So at your own time, you actually run through the whole module 1. You can actually watch all the sub-modules free of charge. Have you managed? No. So you go on Play Store. Let's see. Where is Play Store? Oh, okay. Just a moment. Where is Play Store here? I'm trying to find. You couldn't find it. Oh no! This is it's an iPhone. No. For now, you are using this swagalicious. We are working on that. Who else has? So you click on this course, any of the course. So we've got already like risk management and accounting. So you click on here, like view details. Oh, no. Where is that? Oh, sorry. Just get back to the... So when you click on the courses here, and then click on any course that you like on view details. No. The module 1 of every course is free. So like when you come down here, you've seen these pluses. So you click on this plus, Then there are these modules that are coming. You see that? So the moment you click on that, there you go. Then you start learning. You see that? So so module 1 of every course, when you click there, yeah. So that's the lesson. So at home, sit and start learning all these finance, risk, very detailed, and yeah. Okay. Easy stuff. You managed, eh? Okay. So the book also, the Farming as a Business book, you can fill it on the same app. And you can read it. We have an e-reader that's embedded as part of the app. And I talked about the temporary OTP that you can use. And this is the detailed course curriculum for the one on risk. And this is the first course that we really encourage people to go through, because it really takes you into the real baptism of the things that we're talking about. You can see the introduction, financial risks in farming. It has about 10 videos. Then there's operational and production risks in a farming enterprise. It's got almost 11 videos. Then we also talk about climate, environmental risks in a farming enterprise. You look at market and price volatility risks. There's legal, social. This is a big one. And these social risks, especially people who are from the diaspora who are buying farms now, they've actually been messed up sometimes. They've forgotten our traditions. This is my headman. How do you pay homage to the headman? All these things. Because sometimes we get messed up. And then we also look at risk management tools for a farming enterprise. So then this one is on accounting and financial management in terms of financial literacy. But we have many more, even ESG integration, and most of these are actually very practical courses. We also do on-farm training. And these are some of the trainings that we've done. This was for youth group. And this is from my former employer. I'm actually originally a soldier, by the way. That's my origin. So these were my former workmates in the Zambia Air Force. And that's it. And those are my contacts. And I really encourage you also, when you go to YouTube now and just search for Panuka Farm as well. We have over 200 different videos. Those anytime you can actually watch. So just subscribe, and also the Facebook page, because we post quite a lot on those platforms. I think, Elder, I'm done. Thank you. So let's if the Q&A.
I think it deserves a better round of applause, eh? Yeah, I think people pay a lot for for this knowledge, and I'm sure Dr. Kalibe, you're proud of this man, eh? You're classmates, isn't it? So.
I didn't see Chavota. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, no, we were in the same class with this gentleman at Choma Secondary. We had a very interesting group. And I think I was the only one who went finance, because the rest of the group went engineering. Yeah. Yeah, no, good to see you, my friend. Yeah.
That looks like you're doing agriculture engineering. So before we wrap up this session, do you have any questions, areas of clarification, contribution? It's quite a bit to digest, but I'm sure we can.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
I have a question. I enjoyed the presentation and I understood quite a lot.
Thank you.
My question is, as I do not have a farm, neither do I have any land, but as somebody who is aspiring to start farming as a business, I've just heard from people who own businesses that the worst thing you can do is to hire your relatives. So you as a businessman, have you hired your relatives? If yes, have you encountered the problems that come with hiring relatives? And if not, why?
Okay, thank you. Good question. Statistically, go and read up. The most successful businesses in the world, whether it's in the US, South Africa, are actually those that are run by relatives. I know this sounds unconventional, but go and check. Except those relatives go through training to earn their place to be in the family business. So it's not just because I am the son, I am whoever. I mean, let's just check the resilience of most of the Indian businesses. Who runs those farms? I mean, the pharmaceuticals. It's the children, the nieces and the nephews. But do you know what they do? Go to Evelyn Horn, go and check the class in pharmacy. Sometimes, actually, not too long ago, you find half the class is Indian that are in that pharmacy class at Evelyn Horn. You know where they're destined? Family business. So they're not just appointing them, but they are preparing them to be part of the family business. The biggest challenge that we have is that most of us who have relatives, you find they're not prepared to be part of this family business. So then they begin to exhibit, this tendency of, us, we are owners of the business. And I've chased some also in my enterprise who start behaving differently. But others fit in. But I can tell you, like right now, 99.9%, my farming enterprise is actually run by people who just come from anywhere. But I train them. Okay? For me, I think we've missed it as local Zambians. Because for our colleagues, the Indians, you look at the Africans in South Africa, quite a lot of US, most of the successful businesses are actually intergenerational businesses. But the issue is we don't know how to prepare these relatives of ours to be part of the business and behave when they get in the business. So their only qualification is because they are relatives. They will never deliver like that. Actually, they become behaving like ticks or parasites. Milk you, when the juice is gone, then they are gone. Yeah. I don't know whether I've answered that. Yeah. Yes.
It used to be quite youthful, but yeah.
So you spoke about, when we were speaking about land, you spoke about how productive the land is. So I just came across vertical farming somewhere. So I just wanted to find out if it's something that you think would be sustainable. Yeah.
Yes. So that's, most of the vertical farming is like aeroponics. There's one spectacular aeroponics farm. It's called Hakuna Matata. Who's been there? In Leopard's Hill. But vertical farming is also restricted to what you are trying to farm. You're not going to do vertical farming on cabbage, for example. Even hydroponics, one of the things is it has failed to actually do like what is called iceberg lettuce. The lettuce that looks like cabbage. So most of these technologies are also restricted to what you can do. So you find leafy greens and what is called fancy lettuces. These technologies will do that. So they are useful, but then the biggest challenge that you have is the cost-benefit analysis. Setting it up will cost you quite a bit of money, but then the issue is how big is the market for what can grow in vertical farming. So I know the gentleman who does that. He's Yugoslavian, but Zambian. He mainly does the fancy lettuce. It's actually called the living lettuce. It's quite a very spectacular project, by the way, if you go there. Because, and again, investment coupled with his question. Her question rather. What this gentleman did, his son, he sent him back actually to Yugoslavia to go and do his first degree in computer science and agro something. And his thesis was actually based on the family farm. And what they were trying to do was to actually run a computer program that detects what the crop requires in terms of nutrition. And he's at a level where he can tell you, my crops can never lack anything, because, and the son actually works with the father. So this computer program detects that, okay, nitrogen is low, and every 4 seconds behind there, they've actually put, the nutrients. It goes and picks what's lacking in the plant. If it's nitrogen, it goes and picks, and then comes and aerates on the roots, because it's aeroponics. So it's not in the soil, so it's just the vapor that goes to the crop. So even his tomatoes, if you check, his tomatoes can actually move from here, the same tomato that you plant, but because he gives it what it requires, the vine can maybe from here up to at the end there, and then it comes like this. So he can actually keep his tomatoes for 2 years, and he sells the program for about I think now it's about $15,000. But he tells you, actually when you go there are no phones, because you can't get, he doesn't want the technology it's only him and the son. Who knows? So, I know that's a long answer to a short, question, but it's possible, but know exactly what you can grow, but take into account the cost-benefit analysis. Yeah.
Any other?
There's a question here.
Thank you. Mine is not a question as such.
Just take some photos for me. Okay.
It's not a question on what we have so far covered. Could you say something about what carbon farming is?
Okay. So, you've heard of what is called agroforestry, eh? Agroforestry. So it's not so much about carbon farming, it's just that the way you are farming helps to contribute towards carbon sequestration. And this is why I was saying you need to be in the know around some of these aspects. So if we go back to, where is that? The convention, yeah, here. Oh, sorry, it's not there. There's a convention on climate change, which is called the UNFCCC. That convention on climate change, the first one, has 2 objectives. One is to sequester carbon. And then the second one is on climate adaptation. So if you do anything within your farming that contributes in terms of keeping, that's what sequestration really is, keeping the carbon in the soil or in the plant, then that qualifies to kind of carbon compliant farming. So people who do agroforestry, what basically it means is that you're keeping this tree, because remember what the trees do in terms of carbon keeping, sequestration. So that's why when you do a large forest and keep it, you can actually then get money, provided there's a baseline that is done from that kind of plantation. So that is what carbon farming in a way is. But you can also look at the soil itself keeps carbon dioxide. The moment you overplow it, it means you are actually releasing the carbon into the atmosphere. So anything that keeps carbon in the soil, meaning you do less tilling of the land, it means you are also doing something that's compliant with carbon sequestration. It's actually called minimum tillage. Okay? So that's why I was saying you need to up on these things, because the way you set up the farm and the kind of farming you actually decide to do can tick quite a number of these boxes. And so when there's funding that's looking at, farming practices that help with carbon sequestration, if you're doing this kind of farming, you find that you easily tick the boxes. Yeah. So the answer really lies in you understanding what this is. And in the next 1 month, you actually see on the same app, we are actually doing a course called ESG Mainstreaming in a Farming Enterprise. And we'll basically run through what kind of farming practices are really compliant with these conventions. But I cannot emphasize a lot more about reading up on these things, because if you're really looking at setting up proposals that win these kind of monies, you need to make sure that you understand this. Yeah. Otherwise, when someone is reading up your proposal, it's quite evident that this person does not understand the frameworks which drive these. Yeah. Any other? Pastor behind? I'm reading your face. You're good? Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the knowledge that you have given us. But I want to ask on the machinery. How can you help us grow from using this hoist to the machinery? I know you have the machinery. Is it possible that we can use that machinery? Then secondly, in terms of training, looking at us as beginners, when can we come to train at your farm, and at what fee do we train? Then the last one is on the ESG and SDGs. I'm looking at a small scale farmer. The structure that you looked at and you talked about, how do we get to that? Because we want to get that grant that is there. But it's very difficult to get that grant without those structures. So how can you help me with starting to get up there and then get the grant and be able to also employ the youths of this church? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Obviously, machinery cannot go around. That's a fact. But one thing that I encourage people that there's what is called vehicle and asset financing in the financing sector. Don't go for cash loans. Every time you go and get what is called a vehicle and asset financing facility, that same the asset, is its own insurance. Even a walking tractor. By the way, I actually started from a hoy, then from a hoy graduated to a walking tractor. You can actually go on our YouTube channel and find. So we were also very gradual in the way we were growing, from a hoy, walking tractor, from a walking tractor, then got now a slightly bigger tractor. So my take is that if there's also a consortium of farmers within one area, this is where you can actually have one, because these tractors are very versatile. You find you only have 10 hectares, but this thing can do so much. Sometimes this is where if you have do we have a Chirimba in church here? I'm sure they're there, the village things. Oh, the women, This is where we should be investing the money sometimes, where we get something communal. But I know now government, I've seen especially the Kankoyo MP, they have even bought now tractors for the CDF to help. But my advice at a personal level is that use these vehicle and asset financing facilities. They are less stringent actually compared to cash-based loans because they actually buy the asset for you, even a walking tractor. So for me, you can actually start from there because the walking tractor is not too financially strenuous. Yeah. Then the second question was around training. Our physical trainings, now we do a minimum of 10 people. It's about 600 per person. So you come as a group because we stopped, one-on-one. The one-on-ones are a bit too expensive, it's about 2,000. So it's best you come in groups, and that's what I demonstrated that we've been doing that. Where is that? Here. We've been doing these trainings. Oh, this thing is not showing. Yeah. So that's for the physical trainings. But the issue is that the demand is higher. This is why we have actually created this app. Yeah. With the app, there's a lot of information that's very graphic that you can learn on the app. And that's why I say sample the courses on the app first. And then if there are any gaps, that's when you can actually look at physical. Because even the course on financial management, there will even be downloads of the actual financials where we actually do even analysis, development of the chart of accounts, how do you do data entry and all that from the word go. So, yeah. Then the other one was on the ESG. Like I said, we are also coming up with a training on ESG mainstreaming for smallholder farmers, which will help in terms of just how you conceptualize this. But all I can say is that there's been this talk that most of these things are Western, but they can actually benefit your enterprise if you embrace them, even as a small farming enterprise, even from attracting impact investment like I demonstrated. Yeah. There's another one? Or I've exhausted all of them? I have, huh? Okay. I don't know, maybe, yes. So, for things like financial management, that cuts across. It's not really farming, so we can train on, but the others, it's very targeted, given the unique nature of what agribusiness really is. But for some of the courses like ESG mainstreaming, accounting, risk management, all that, yeah, that depending on the different industries, yes, we can do that, yeah. But we don't want to overstretch ourselves and be jack of everything, eh? Yeah. Looks like we're good, eh? Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mwemba. I know your schedule was tight, but we are glad you made it. We are glad you made it. I think for such things you can't overclap. So I think just for us to transition properly, maybe another round of applause, eh? Yeah, no, thank you. So before we head for lunch, we have one other presentation. I think we want to take advantage of Pastor Matanga being around. In fact, we were lucky because I think he was supposed to travel today, but I think his travel has been moved by a few days. So we're lucky that Pastor Matanga is in our midst. And given that he's our stewardship leader, we also wanted to get some insights from him. I think the subject he's covering is not a typical subject to expect from him. So Pastor Matanga, you're welcome. And I think you can come to the stage and walk us through for the next few minutes. I think it's looking at soaring above storms. Soaring above storms. How can we adjust ourselves around that? So after his presentation, we'll transition into lunch. And then after lunch, we'll have another presentation. And I think my sister then at that point will take over. Sister Maenzi Womba will run us through for the afternoon. But for now, we can listen to Pastor Matanga. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, saints. Good afternoon. All right. Thank you, Elder, for challenging us. When I grow up, I want to be like you. Yeah, it was indeed powerful. And we've really learned a lot. We've gotten the contacts. We'll definitely contact you. All right. I'm not going to present something that is very difficult, especially after the presentation we just had. I just want to encourage you in one area or the other. So my presentation is timing is everything. Timing is everything. Just to remind ourselves that all of us would want to be successful in one way or the other. And I think it's inbuilt in us to just want to have a good life. Can I see those that would want to have a good life? All right, that's why we're here. All right, I think it's Miles Monroe who tells a story of an eagle that is learning to fly. And that what happens is the mother eagle would get the eagle and, fly with it, I don't know, whatever altitude. After that, the small eagle will be dropped, and then it has two choices, either to cry or to fly. Because at that point, it is in a crisis. And the crisis is probably it has never flown before. So it's learning to fly. So the eagle makes a decision. Instead of crying, it's going to fly. And so even as I begin my presentation, we have how many options? 2. Either to cry with everybody, that things are tough, things are hard, the economy is bad, the government is not doing a lot, or maybe we can use the crisis to fly. And so my presentation is just there to encourage us that we can fly. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, we need to fly. Yeah, so I want us to fly. So maybe first things first, let me begin by reminding us that there's a Bible text that encourages us to fly. And I'm speaking like this because I'm a pastor, so I'm not an engineer. So you hear a lot of Bible. And it is my prayer that you apply it in your personal lives. And so Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 18 says, but thou shalt remember the Lord thy God. And I'm interested, it says, for it is he that giveth what, everybody? Power to do what? To create wealth. And so I think for the longest time as a church, we have found ourselves in 2 groups. We have people who are too religious and very poor. And we have found people who are rich and they are not religious. So much so that we have demonized wealth for a very long time. So we have verses that are favorite that work against wealth, like it is hard for a rich man to enter heaven. We have theology that Jesus will come in heaven, it's not going to matter. But I want to tell you that if it doesn't matter here, then it won't matter in heaven. If it matters here, then it shall surely matter in heaven. Imagine for a short while, if your God will only make sense in the future, then definitely you don't need that God. You didn't hear me. If, for instance, our Christ will save us when he comes, that's the only time he will deliver us, then probably you don't need that Christ. Because guess what? When you get to heaven, you don't need to pay bills. So you can take care of yourself. So you don't need Christ actually when you get there. So the reason why Christ is here and we need him now to deliver and to show us the other side of life, it is because we need to navigate through life now. So I'm here to remind us that we have the what? The power, and this power is to get what? Wealth. Now, remember the power is given to everybody, and it's up to you how you're going to use it. You can use it to complain, or you can use it to make wealth. Which one would you rather choose? To make wealth. I think some of the conversation I would like us to be having as a church, apart from just praying every day, is to talk about how we can create wealth. I'm not talking about making money. I'm talking about creating what? Wealth. So creating wealth is far much more than just making a few monies. So we are past the idea of us surviving. We want now to, not from the survival, those stages the elder was giving us, but we want now to thrive and to take off and to fly. And one of the things we'd like to see as a church is to see members who are successful. Church must not be a habitat of people who have failed in life and then they want to call upon Jesus. Okay, I hope that is quite clear. So then we need also to understand that God has given us the power to create wealth. And so God does not give us wealth, but he gives us power. You get the secret? Here the Bible doesn't say God has given us wealth, but he has given us what? Power. So it simply means if you are going to decide to be poor today, you must know in no uncertain terms that you are going to be a poor, powerful person. Okay? So your poverty will actually be enhanced by the power of God. So it will be poverty pro max. So you don't want that. But then it's good also to understand why has God given you the power to create wealth. He says so that he may establish his what? His kingdom. So there's an aspect of God giving us wealth, and that wealth is for a purpose. So the DNA of creating wealth in the biblical circles, and by the way, I must be quick to mention that you can make money without God. Is that okay? Yeah, you don't need God to be rich. You don't need prayers to be rich. You can make the money without God. So it's either you are to choose, I want to make the money with God, or I want to make the money without God. But either way, you can succeed. It's only in the church where we see people coming and say, Pastor, pray for me. And I look at people who are saying, Pastor, pray for me to make wealth. I see that the theology is wrong because I haven't seen a fish that needs prayers in order for it to swim. Immediately you put it in the water, what happens? And you get a bird, you put in the air, what happens? It flies. So God has given us the ability to run even without himself. It's not every time that we must be God dependent. For instance, our bones don't need prayers for them to grow. They grow on their own because God has wired us with the ability to grow even without him. So is the same with wealth. Now, you just have to choose whether you want to make your wealth in the godly way or you want to make your wealth without God, using other means. But either way, if it is about wealth, you can still be wealth without God, without prayer, without anything. And my argument has always been, if really prayer is what would make people rich, I think prayer band members and pastors would have been the richest. We pray more than every one of you. But I don't think we are wealthy. I don't think we have the money. So, yeah. So the source of kingdom wealth is God himself. Now, I'm being particular. It's not just any wealth, but kingdom wealth, it's God. And maybe I can also be able to say, whatever form of wealth comes from God. Whether you are a Satanist, you get the wealth from God. Whether you are a thief, you get the wealth from God. Because everything belongs to God. So, the kingdom is the purpose for you and I who are in this house, and then kingdom wealth is not really acquired, but it's entrusted. It's a trust. God gives it to us as a trust. Now, I just wanted to lay this foundation before I talk about the timing and why timing is quite important. So there's what I call the 3D. So the 3D is the approach that we must understand in order for us to have a balance in our lives. That God would like to empower us in 3 dimensions. Number 1, he would like to empower us in the spiritual dimension. And the word says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his what? Righteousness, and how many things will be added? All other things. Now, notice that it begins with God, but it doesn't end with God. This is where now I must encourage you that before we begin to create wealth, we must look for God. We must establish a relationship with God. God must bless us. We must become a blessing. After we do that, then there's another one. Seek first. First means priority, isn't it? Dr. Gift, we welcome you, sir. So first means what? Priority. Seek first. It simply means we can also seek what? Second. Yeah? The Bible says seek first. If there's first, what else must come? It doesn't say seek only. It says what? Seek first. Meaning that after we seek God, we must not end with God, prayer bands and church. After you worship here on Sabbath, please, we don't want to see you at church. We want to see you enterprising. Amen. I think sometimes as Adventists we pray too much. We worship too much. We have spiritual constipation. And so we fail to survive in the real world. So after you come here at church, the spiritual aspect, you must take care of the what? The relational aspect. This is where you must understand that if God must bless you, he must send people in your life. Now, my good elder talked about a lot of things, but one of the things I saw in how his business was growing, I think he had good connections. Did you notice that? Yeah, he had very good connections, the right people. And this is where most of us are lacking. You find you are poor, but you also have an attitude. You can't have those two in one. You must choose one. Yeah, you are poor, you can't say hi. It doesn't work like that. You know, you cannot afford to be poor and to be proud. The two P's cannot appear in the same sentence. You must choose one. If you are proud, probably you must not be poor. But if you are poor, you want to make sure that you are humble enough to smile, to be able to say hi, to have relationships. And also not just to know everybody, but to know the right people. To have good connection and sound connection. And this is where the timing comes in, because you may have what it takes, but guess what? Your friend may actually know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who may lead you to, I'll give you an example of proper timing and relationship. It's an aspect of Joseph in prison. Then Joseph, was very strategic. He knew that I think there's something about these guys. They should be able to know the big guy. Now, don't just have friendships that, will waste your time without any benefit. You must be intentional on who becomes your friend. One of the things is, I've heard people who talk about friends with benefit and all that. Some of the benefits must be these benefits, to say, when I become a friend to this one, he's going to introduce me to this one who introduced me to this one. So while they are at the same level, they are all prisoners, there are others who are better prisoners than all the other prisoners. So Joseph was strategic in how he formed his relationships. He went to this guy and says, guys, that's timing. Are we together? You can be in the same, class with your friends and what, but others, you can tell that these ones will fly one day. There are people you can almost see. It's almost certain that it's just a matter of what? Time. And so those are the people you want to see. Guys, when you fly, remember me. And that's exactly what happened. When they were out of that prison, what happened? They remembered there was a Joseph. And so, because of proper timing, Joseph left the prison. Because of connection, he became the second in command. So I think it's important to build healthy relationships. Now, you realize that even if the devil wants to punish you, he sends people in your life. Have you noticed? So either for blessings or for curses, people become the asset for God and for the devil. So you want to make friends. You want to have, a good relationship with your family. You want to have good relationships with others around you, as well as, people who don't know you. Now, somebody said, you need 3 voices in this world. How many? 3. You need the voice in heaven. Somebody must intercede for you on your behalf. You also need the voice in the boardroom. Somebody must speak well of you when they gather together. So the elder talked about character. I think that's where it comes in, to say, how do people know you? Can somebody say, no, you are looking for somebody. I think this one is rightly placed. So you need that kind of a person. And then the last one, you need the voice in the bedroom. That simply means family life must be good. It may also be the beginning of your sorrows for the rest of your life. And so if you are not yet married, you just want to make sure you choose somebody who will align with your values. And that is if you want to be wealthy. So you don't want to be dragging. You want to make sure that you have a voice that will take you. The last thing is financial dimension. This is where God wants you to have money. Hey, turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, God wants you to have money. Yeah. So it's one of the areas that we have neglected. We think that God just wants us to have the Holy Spirit, but you see, you need money for a lot of things, and so we shouldn't demonize money, because it is that money that will help you finance your purpose in life. I heard the good elder here teaching us, but those are the things he was teaching us, and he's enjoying. And I hope that, elder, what you are doing, you are really happy. I can see it on your face. It is the purpose more than just the money. So as you are pushing the purpose in your life, money will begin to chase you. I don't know whether it was here or it was somewhere where I was yesterday. Somebody said, this person does not love money, but money loves him. So we need to change. Instead of us loving money, money should love what? Us. So by doing our purpose, and so what does God use in order for us to finance our purpose? He gives us the money. But then how are we going to make this money, or how do we become wealthy? How do we become wealthy? I think that's a very important thing that we should talk about. So there are 3 kinds of blessings that God will give us in order for us to become wealthy. So we have what are called general blessings. These are blessings that God will give upon everyone. That includes the sinners, everyone. As long as you are a human being, these are the blessings that will come upon you. So you have no excuse as to whether you are a prayerful person, whether you are educated, whether whatever tribe, you have the general blessings every day that comes. And then you also have the added blessings. The added blessings will only come when we seek first the kingdom of God, and how many things? Or other things will be added. These are the added blessings. Then we also have the special blessings. Now, the special blessings are the kinds of blessings that nobody else has apart from you. It is a situation where you actually don't need to ask for those blessings, but God himself asks you to ask the blessings. In the case of Solomon, where Solomon is relaxing, he's sleeping, then God knocks on his door and he says, look, I want you to ask me of anything. And then Solomon says, look, God, you've already blessed me with everything. You've given my father a kingdom and a heir to sit on the kingdom. So just give me the stewardship responsibility. Then God says, because you haven't asked for yourself and you haven't asked for the death of your enemy, neither to lengthen your life, I will give you a special blessing. And no one will ever be as wise as you are in the whole entire world. Up to date, we can actually write books and books and books. Albert Einstein and many others. There's always been one person who has been the wisest man, and his name is what? Solomon. And we call these kinds of blessings special what? Blessings. So now, when you have a car, you build a house, you do what? These are just but general blessings, which no one of us should fail. No one of us should fail to buy land. We are in the general blessings. We don't need God for that. No one of us should fail to buy a car, to fly, to go to the airport, to live a better life, to go to Dubai. These are general blessings. And then now, when you have what you have and it's only you who has it in the whole entire world and it can never be replicated, then you have a special what? Blessing. I hope that's clear. So where are you here? Where are we? Are we on the general blessings? I think this is where we need to move from the general. At least we come to the what? Added blessing, to say, I have a car, but I also have peace. I have a car, I also have humility. Then you have an added what? Blessing. So just mere having a car shouldn't scare anybody, because we are still in the realm of general blessings. Okay, so timing is everything. Why is timing important? Why is timing important as we want to sail high, as we want to fly? Genesis chapter number 1. By the way, Genesis is one of my favorite books in the Bible. When I want to take off, I can't forget Genesis. So the Bible says, and the Lord God says, let there be light in the what? In the firmament, and that's to divide the day from the night. And why is God doing all that? He says, and let it be for what? Signs, and for what? And for what? Days. Sometimes it's amazing when we look at ourselves today and we are failing to determine there will be a drought. And I have a problem with our technology because in those other days, we had the Josephs of the time being able to say we'll have 7 years of what? Drought. Now, when I look at the way we react to the crisis that comes our way, the ZESCO and many other things, right now we are hoping that things are going to change. This year we'll have rains. But here is my question. What if we don't have the rains? What will happen to the ZESCO? What will happen to the drought? Okay? But now what God wants us to do, he wants us to develop our knowledge beyond just existing, but to have the science of determining the what? The signs, and be able to tell the what? The seasons, and be able to tell the years. That's the genius that God wants you to have from the very beginning. And in verse 26, he says, and let them dominate over everything. So God did not create the flood to dominate over us, but he created us to dominate over the what? The flood. Somewhere where I was teaching in the village, I was telling my leaders to say, sometimes I don't understand how and why a leader in his normal senses would one day come and say, Pastor, I don't know if you understand Tonga. So then I am like, you are 40 years of age. How many hulas have you seen? And you have never come up with a remedy for hula to sinkira you. Then your problem is serious. Are you getting that? So God has put us into this world to dominate, not to allow problems dominate us, but us to dominate the problems. And he has given us the signs and other things. Now, let me give us another one about time. By the way, when we talk about seasons and signs, we are basically talking about time. 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32 says, and of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of what everybody? Times. To know what they ought to do. Now, my interest is just here. Number one, this class of people understood what? Times. And number two, they understood what? What they ought to do. Now, the understanding of time, the skill and the science and the knowledge of time helps you to actually know what you're supposed to do. So in short, when you don't know time, then you don't know what to do. Hence, David says in his prayer, Lord, help us to number what? So that we may apply what? Wisdom. So when you don't know your days, probably if you are not applying wisdom, what are you applying? The opposite of wisdom. So when you know the time, then you know what you are supposed to do at what time. I want to tell you that most of us have bright ideas. We have business plans, and we have been trying so well in business circles. But probably the only thing that has failed us in our business investments and other things is timing. That's why we're saying timing is what? Everything. If you don't know the time, basically it says you don't know what you ought to do. So you could be saying the right words, but at the wrong time. Are you aware that the right words counseling a couple may break a marriage spoken at the wrong time? It's not that the words are not right, but the timing is what? Is wrong. So this is where the problem is. We must then become students of time so that we can know what do we invest in and at what time are we supposed to invest. Otherwise, we'll keep praying for us and then things will not change. And I've heard people who say, Pastor, I have tried. But probably you are trying in the wrong time. So timing is what? Everything. So, general blessings, again, regardless of our difference in race, economic, and whatever background, we all share how many hours? 24 hours. It's a general blessing. It doesn't need prayer. God will give it whether we pray for it or not. So how we use this timing determines who we become. And notice that life is not about what we do. Life is about becoming. So how we spend the time is what determines who we become. So there are no magic. There's nothing like, you wake up one day and you are the CEO. It's about how you use time. So time, the beauty is that it's unstoppable, but it can be controllable, or maybe it can be controlled. So by that we are saying, time is like a piece of eternity that is cut. Somebody has a beginning and they have an end. Dr. Gift will talk about that, where you have a beginning and you have an end in between. Dr. Gift will explain. So, because of this timing that is here, we are here for a specific purpose, and the bad news is we'll never exceed. Now, one of the things that makes God so upset is to see people living lives and never knowing why they were here in the first place. Never carrying out their purpose. And when you lose the purpose, then you qualify for death. That's a kind of a proverb we learn to say, let's cut this tree because it is what? Useless. So if you are not making any difference, then in the radar screen of heaven, you are almost qualified to be cut down because you are using the oxygen for free, for mahala. Then people then must understand, why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? So time is also cyclic. So this is how time is. There is what we call the chronos, time moving in a chronological order. And there's what we call the kairos. The kairos is the opportune time in the chronos. So while the time is moving like this forward, I am 1 year, I'm 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, there comes a time within the time that God gives you the kairos moment. So when you miss the kairos moment, then you have a problem to continue waiting for the what? The chronos moment. Now, this is now what brings the cyclic moment. So while time is moving and it doesn't stop, God brings seasons in that life and they are cyclic. So when you miss the planting season this year, what happens? You have to wait for the entire year. Now, it simply means if you didn't plant in your planting season, what will you be doing for the rest of the year? You become almost useless until the next planting season. I hope you're getting the importance of understanding time. So time is a blessing that helps us do what? Grow and mature, but it is also got limitations. So time is a commodity. It's a currency. Time is a currency. It's a commodity that we all possess equally, but it must be managed. It must be protected. It must be invested wisely. It can be stolen, abused, lost, squandered, just like money. So when you have the time, you're just as good as somebody who has the money. So we must be intentional on how and who we spend our time with. This is why we can't afford to just have conversations on the phone that are not leading anywhere, because you are wasting your life, you are wasting the time to think, to plan, to do other things. And I always tell my church that one of the signs that we still have a poor church and poverty will be perpetuated. As long as people are still gossiping, then we know that the church is still in poverty. Because people who are serious and busy, they have less gossip. They have more time to plan and to do other things. Okay. Okay, so our success or our failure is dependent on our ability to manage time. So time is constant, so is change. Now, let me just explain this one. Time is constant, it will never stop moving, so is change. So, there are some of us who think and believe that things are going to get better. And it is my wish for all of you. But I can tell you that things will keep changing every day. And one of the things that can make you a casualty is when you don't know how to manage the changes that come in your life. If you want to live in 1960s and the world is in 2024, then you become a casualty of change. So the way we did business last year may not be the way we're supposed to do business this year. And the science now is, how do we then do business in 2024 to address the needs of 2024? Somebody was actually saying, and they went as far as saying, even our education system must begin to address the needs of our times. You know, we can't afford to have our students stay 7 years in school and study medicine, and then after that, that's when they become doctors and what. Probably now, time has come when maybe school should be very focused. You want to do web designing. Probably you don't need to go and do ICT for all that number of years. But you want to do something that's going to address the problems of our times. Simple and straightforward. So you find that where we are going, people will have a lot of degrees and doctorates, and then they'll still be poor. And this is why now we need to understand, why is it important for us to embrace the change that comes with time? How are we supposed to do the business, even as we are doing time? So what is the blessing of time? How does time move with the blessing? The Bible tells us that to everything there is a what? There is a season and a time to every purpose. Now, I want you to notice how the words are linked together. To everything there is a season. Now, a season is a period of time. Then a time is a spot in a season. Is that clear? So a season is a period of what? Time. So we can call a season, we can say it's in the chronos. Then when we come to a time itself, this is like the kairos moment when you're supposed to hit. Now, you hear things like this in the Bible. Are you aware that Jesus worked with timing? He didn't work aimlessly. He had a very well strategic life. Are you aware that Jesus, first and foremost, from the age, when he was born to the age when he died, he only came on the limelight 3 years? Yes. He had timing. But us, year number 1, we are in the limelight. No timing, isn't it? Because now, once you bring yourself in the limelight, you also attract enemies, isn't it? And we'll talk about that. So you need to understand, to say, what season are you in? Under heaven, this is the science you must have. There's a season and there's a purpose to every time. There's a time to be born, a time to die, a time to play, a plant, and a time to pluck. There's a time for everything. So when you just understand, there are people who want things to move in a very straight line, in a smooth line. No, it will never work like that. There are times when people smile at you. There are times when they'll frown. There are times when people will love you, and there are times when they will actually not like you. So what do? You must understand that every season has a blessing or a benefit. And you and me must know that even God works with timing and season, even when it comes to blessing us. Even when it comes to blessing us. Psalm number 1, verse 1 and 3 says, "Blessed is a man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and his law doth he meditate day and night." Now, verse 3, I like it, says, "And he shall be like a tree," strategic, "planted strategically by the what? Rivers of water, that brings forth its fruit." When does the fruit come out? In season. So, even if we plant, we do what? Profit comes in season. When you don't know the season, then you'll be working and working and working. There'll be no profit. So, it simply means this fruit will only come in season. Meaning that if the fruit is not in season, then it's not going to give its food. So it doesn't mean that the tree is bad. It just means that the season is not right. And I want to encourage us, it doesn't mean that our businesses are not good. Maybe we can also, like the elder was teaching us, we can get to a point where we fly and have, establishment and those stages and get to the top. But maybe what we need is a what? What do we need? The right season. The leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he does shall do what? Prosper. Are you aware that there are seasons when whatever you touch prospers? And there are seasons when whatever you touch fails. I think the elder gave us a practical, example where he started this business, things are failing, they are failing. But now where he is, I think he's in a season where whatever he touches does what? Now, here is where the problem is for many of us as we look at the seasons of life. Okay. This one is Ezekiel says, "This is the Lord, and I will make them in the places around them, my hill, a blessing, and I will cause the showers to come in his" what? "And they shall be showers of blessings when? In the right seasons. And all the trees in the right seasons will give the fruit, and the land will be blessed because it's the right season." Ecclesiastes chapter 3:11 says, "And he hath made everything beautiful in his" what? "Time." So it is important for us to understand that in the right time, when the season is right, everything works well. And everything has been created for a purpose, and everything has a time attached to it. So life is a personal journey, yes, but success is timing. Whether it's baking, whether it's comedy, whatever business, we must understand that timing is actually everything. Timing is everything. So when you want to be successful, you must understand, when am I supposed to plant? So here is a takeaway home. Nothing is permanent except God and his promises. We must understand that things will keep changing, and we must also change as things are changing. And then God will bring the seasons, and these seasons are in different categories, but seasons will also guarantee change as well as development. Okay, now I want us to look at the last part, which is the seasons of life and how these cycles work. So when we read Genesis chapter number 8, the Bible tells us something that is very important. It says, for as long as the earth remains, there will be seed time, harvest time, cold time, hot time, day and night. So it gives us how many cycles? How many cycles here? 6 cycles. So we have the seed time. This is a period when you and me are supposed to sacrifice. We are supposed to invest. We are supposed to learn, like the elder was telling us, learn from those that are before us. Get some connection. So here, when you want to start a business, it is a time when you just spend a lot of time not to do any investment, or to start the business, but to learn the business, to find out, I want to do farming, learn from his feet, go to others who have done farming. It is not a period where you are going to reap the reward. You are a nobody at this period. Nobody knows you, nobody talks about you. You are in the planting, the seed time. You are overshadowed. Then we have the harvest. It's a period of abundance, growth, and you must be strategic. Also at this point, this is where the elder says, then you must have people relations. You need to know. You invest in people. Why? You can plant alone, but when it is time to harvest, can you do it alone? No, you need the gardeners. You need the street boys. You need to go to Soweto and learn how to speak their language. You need that language, because at that point, you are the point when you are harvesting, and you need the core boys and everybody around you. Is that okay? Is that clear so far? So, you're not looking for rewards at this point. Then there is a cold or winter. It's a time of dryness. The trees, they are shedding their leaves and everything like that. The grass dies. Everything looks like, it's galambebo. Mujima wasiga. It is at this point. When you try to make a call, they cut your line. You try to talk to this one. Things are just bad. And then even those you trust to say, okay, well, you come to me now, it's going to pick up. They don't pick up. You try this, it's not working. You are in the dry season. Now, you don't cut your trees in the dry season, because summer is doing what? It's coming. So there's something that we must learn from every season. And we shouldn't forget that God has given us these seasons for a reason. Then there's also summer, when it's warm, you enjoy, you feel good. This is where somebody just calls you a stray call. No, it's been long, I've missed you, let me take you out. No, there's this business, just bring what? It's summertime. Things are just okay. Now, this is where now you need to be strategic. All right? When you see yourself, finding yourself, like here, there's Dr. Gift, we have our elder there. You are in what kind of a season? Yeah, you can be in your summer. Well, or maybe let me ask it this way to be more practical. The elder who was presenting, in what season is he? Summer. Okay. In the other one, is it in the planting or the reaping season? The harvest, right? So now here's where the problem is. I am a young man here, and then I meet with the elder. We are sharing the stage with the big guys, right? And so I could be in my planting season, sharing the stage with those who are in the harvest what? Season. Now the temptation could be I may jump out of my season and join other people's season. And many of us, that's a mistake we make. So you are with your friends, you are going out, and then you get to East Park. They are in their harvest season, and then you are in your planting season, and then you use now your seed, your capital, to show that you are also in the what? In the harvest season. When you must be honest with yourself to say, guys, I appreciate your season, but I'm also in my planting what? Season. I can't afford to live the way you live. You can't start a job today, you start your work today, and then tomorrow you want to buy all the things that the big guys are buying. No. Live in your season and your space. What matters is focus, timing, and distance, isn't it? Yeah, and I know that we as young people, with the advent of Facebook and other things, we have failed to manage that area of timing. And we have ended up switching seasons. You find those who are in the harvest season, you jump, you leave your planting season. And guess what? They are harvesting only because they planted. So don't deceive yourself by sitting next to somebody who is like, maybe like the elder, they were in the same class and other things, but they could be in different what? Seasons. Then there is a night season. A night season is time for you not to be what? Not to be seen. It's dark in the night. Nobody sees you. Nobody talks about you. Nobody, they don't even mention your name. So this is a very tempting period because you hear names like the radical entrepreneur, the what, and you're doing something as well, a small thing. So you may also want to be tempted to say, but why are people not mentioning my name? Why am I not in the limelight? So, but the night season has a blessing for you. And here is a blessing. It is time to dream. In the night, you are hidden from the world. Nobody's talking about you. It also means that you don't even have enemies after all. Who wants to kill you? No one. Who wants to fight you? You have no enemies. Now, it is a time for dreams. It's a time for incubation. It's a time when you build yourself. So you don't need now to start showing off. And I've often told people, learn to grow in silence. And then postpone your gratification or delayed gratification. It's important as we grow. You say, okay, I can afford a car now, but let me push it in future. So while your friends can say, but manzako bonse bayenza, why are you not driving? You must know your season. That you have not denied yourself a luxury, but you have just delayed it, and so that you can have it and also have the best. I hope that really makes sense. So, yeah, basically that's that about the season. So the day season is when you are exposed, you come to the light, people know you, they see you, they talk about you. You are like my elder, you are like elder gift there. And then once time comes like that, that's when now your enemies come. You have the rewards and you have the enemies. You are noticed and they plot against you. So if you didn't build your character in the dark, when they begin to plot at you and you have enemies, it's going to expose how weak your character is when you come in the light. So by all means, run away from the limelight if you want to grow firm, because you may lose your opportunity when you come too fast in the light. And life has a way of bringing you to the top so fast, bringing you at a level that you cannot handle. In other words, sometimes your talent can take you where your character can't keep you. So you want to make sure that while you are not seen, while nobody's talking about you, you want to build your character, honesty, integrity, and all those kinds of things, so that when you come into the light, nobody will say, this guy. I've seen most musicians, talent takes them so fast to the top, but they mess up real big because they don't have their character. So, yeah, that's that. So, yeah, I think basically about the seasons of life, as I end, I may just give you an example of Jacob himself. When he was about to get into the dark, the Bible says, and Jacob vowed a vow saying, God will be with me. If you will be with me and keep me in this way, I will go and come back, and you give me the bread to eat and the clothes to put on. Listen to the promise, because you are children of God. You need this. The promise says, when I go and come back, you give me the food to eat and the clothes to put on, so that I come back in my Father's house in peace. Then you shall be my God. Not only that, but he says, and this stone which I have set as a pillar, he says, I shall give you, he said, of all that you shall give me, I shall surely give you a tenth. This is where you need to make a promise before God, because sometimes wealth can make you run away from God. Again, remember, our biggest problem is that we have the rich who don't have God, and we have the poor who have God, but we want to balance. We want you to have the money and to have God himself. So you must now make a promise here to say, Lord, look, I have plans. I have this business proposal. If you're going to take me, you're going to protect me, then I am going to return in peace. Then I will give you a tenth. I'll be faithful in my tithes and offerings. My business will be faithful. It will return a faithful tithe and offering. When you don't return a faithful tithe and offering from your business, God will still bless you, but then it won't be, a God way of making money. It will still be your own way of making money. Remember, you can succeed without God where money is concerned. But if you want to have money and peace, then you want to have God. If you don't want to have BP after you have the money, then you want to have God. You don't want to take your journey without God. And I was reading something on Facebook, should be Suwilanji. He says, the deeper the foundation, the higher the building. Elder Chawata, is that true? Yeah, so that's another thing that he explained, and I liked his illustration. He says, you see, sometimes in life, people may be building houses and they get in, this one is building, this one is happening, and it appears as though you are the only one who's not happening when everybody is happening. But this is what you must do. You must understand that maybe you are building your foundation and concentrate on building and perfecting the foundation. The more deeper the foundation goes and the more perfect it becomes, the higher the building will become. So it simply means, while they were looking at others and they are saying, wasala, everybody's happening. When your structure comes, everybody else will stop looking at their small structures and they'll look at yours. So I want to advise us that we keep on building our foundation. A best life, a best relationship, a best what takes time and patience. There's nothing like instant wealth, instant what. You must be patient. You must go through the stages of your life. So you must ask yourself, which season am I in? Am I learning the time? For instance, I'll give you a practical example. We are in the season where we have most of the Adventists in the government. What's that season supposed to mean to us? What season is that? We can use the season, isn't it? Because I can knock at every government office, I'll find my fellow what? Adventist. Do you think it's by chance? I was telling others to say, if this government leaves, I want to tell you that most of us, some of us will really go through a lot. But then if we use this season well, especially as Adventists, we use the season well, we become people of connections and timing, and we time ourselves and build resources. When the other time of trouble comes, we'll have resources to use in the time of trouble. Let's take advantage of the CDF. Let's take advantage of the connections. Let's invite those people so that when they come here, because it's their season, in their harvest season, we can also be planting in their harvest season. So that one day we are going to harvest in our own seasons. So my question is, what season are you in? Don't be discouraged in whatever season you find yourself. Jacob entered this season. He prayed to God. Immediately after the prayer, the Bible says, and the sun set, he entered the dark season. But it was in the dark when he met the angel. It was in the dark when the angel blessed him. It was in the dark when he wrestled with God. But after the blessing and the changing of the name, the Bible says, and the sun rose again. And he was blessed. He had possession. He had great things. And it is my prayer for you that while you may be in the dark now, use it to have a connection with God as well as the connection with others. Luke chapter 2:52 says, and God increased in wisdom, in stature with God, in favor with God and what? Man. You need the favor of God. You also need the favor of man. As you wake up every morning, pray for one thing in your life. Lord, may my enemies look upon me with favor. It is important for you to work with favor. When God blesses you like that, do not forget him. May God bless us.
Timing is everything, isn't it? Even for the food, it's timing also. So we have very good following online. I think I've seen someone has posted a question, from Choma. I think there's a question for you, Mr. Mwemba, and others are also joining in. So for now, I think we break off for lunch, and then can we be efficient with the lunch? At least can you promise me that? So that we're just going for one agenda item there. It's just we eat, then we come back, so that we can maximize for the remainder of the time. So as we break off, we'll ask Pastor Finza Matanga to pray for us for the morning session, as well as pray for the food. And then we can efficiently exit, and in a couple of minutes come back. Thank you so much.
Let us pray. Gracious Lord in heaven, thank you for the lessons that have gone before us. We pray that, Lord, we have been challenged, we have learned. Sometimes we may see the distance to be quite unattainable, but Lord, you who gave us this opportunity, you also give us the ability to catch up. It is our prayer that your sons and daughters, Lord, may be blessed, and after you have blessed them, they may be a conduit of blessings to others. May you make it for us as you made it for others who are successful. And I know, Lord, it is your desire that all of us must not be poor, all of us must be successful, so that your work may come to an end. Lord, we just want to pray even for food. Bless the food and bless us, or bring us back again that we may learn some more. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much. After lunch, we still have Elder Richard Mwenya to give a testimonial, but also Pastor Gift Member is here. So please, it's a special appeal that we go quickly. The caterer has been waiting for us, and then we can come back. Thank you. I think lunch is by the tent, eh? Lunch by the tent.
nogara naye kudenga kwa kanaka hakuna matambuzo Jesu ndiye mambo ticha nogara naye kudenga kumusha wa baba mufaro chete chete never ke ziso harisatira ona zeve harisatira nzwa ijo Krista gadzirira vanotenda vake ziso harisatira ona zeve harisatira nzwa ijo Krista gadzirira vanotenda vake kudenga umusha wa baba mufaro chete chete never ke hama tende ukanasi Jesu achiri kudana mukana uchiri ponasi wekunogara naye hama tende ukanasi Jesu achiri kudana mukana uchiri ponasi wekunogara naye kudenga umusha wa baba mufaro chete chete never ke kudenga umusha wa baba mufaro chete chete never ke never Soft is the voice of an angel, breathing a lesson unheard. Hope with a gentle persuasion, whispers a comforting word. Wait till the darkness is over. Wait till the tempest is down. Hope for the sunshine tomorrow. After the shower is gone. Whispering, whispering hope. Oh, how welcome, welcome thy voice. Making my heart, Lord, in its sorrow rejoice. Whispering, whispering hope. Oh, how welcome, welcome thy voice. Making my heart, Lord, in its sorrow rejoice. If in the dusk of the twilight, dim be the region afar, will not the deepening darkness brighten the glimmering star? Then when the night is upon us, why should the heart sink away? When the dark midnight midnight is over, watch for the breaking of day. Whispering, 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 oh, oh, how welcome, welcome my voice, the Lord is making my heart, Lord, in its sorrow, sorrow, rejoice. Yes, he's whispering, whispering, oh, how welcome, welcome the voice. The Lord is making my heart, Lord, in its sorrow, joys. Yes, he's making my heart, Lord, in its sorrow, rejoice. Yes, he's making Lord, making my heart, Lord, in its sorrow, rejoice. I'll meet you in the morning by the bright riverside, when the sorrow has drifted away. I'll be standing at the portals when the gates open wide, at the close of life's long dreary day. I'll meet you in the morning, meet you in the morning, with a how do you do? When you sit down by the river, and in rapture goes down winter's ringing. You know me in the morning, when the smiles that I wear, when I meet you in the morning, in the city built for square. I'll meet you in the morning at the end of the way, on the streets of the city of gold, where we all can be together and be happy always, when the years and the ages shall roll. I'll meet you in the morning, with a how do you do? When we sit down by the river, Savior's mercy. Though we may be strangers in this world of care, always looking for a city built above. Yes, we're looking here and there, looking for a city under where we'll never die. Never die or never under their place. Yes, we'll meet a million and never say goodbye. Say goodbye, don't never under when we gather there. Yes, we need a Savior, say goodbye. Friends and lovers, pray thee, come. Pray thee, Holy Spirit, Spirit, come. Because all our hopes renew. Hearing these appointments, we so sadly wrong. Friends no longer speak one word of love. We all we find contentment. Jesus promised us a home. So we are looking for a city built above. Yes, we're looking here and there, looking for a city under where we'll never die. Never time or never under there will be the saints. Yes, we need a million and never say goodbye. Say goodbye, no never under when we gather there. Yes, we need a Savior, say goodbye. Friends and lovers, love must pray thee, quickly come. Pray thee, Holy Spirit, Spirit, come on me, because all our hopes renew. Looking here and there, looking for a city in the world will never die. Never time or never under there will be the saints. Yes, we need a million and never say goodbye. Say goodbye, no never under when we gather there. Yes, we need a Savior, say goodbye. Friends and lovers, love must pray thee, quickly come. Pray thee, Holy Spirit, Spirit, come on me, because all our hopes renew. Looking here and there, looking for a city in the world will never die. Never time or never under there will be the saints. Yes, we need a million and never say goodbye. Say goodbye, no never under when we gather there. Yes, we need a Savior, say goodbye. Friends and lovers, love must pray thee, quickly come. Pray thee, Holy Spirit, Spirit, come on me, because all our hopes renew. Pray thee, quickly come. Pray thee, Holy Spirit, Spirit, come on me, because all our hopes renew. Pray thee, quickly come. Pray thee, Holy Spirit, Spirit, come on me, because all our hopes renew. There's no disappointment in heaven, no weariness, sorrow or pain, no hearts that are bleeding and broken, no song without minor refrain. The clouds of our earthly horizon will never appear in the sky. For all will be sunshine and gladness, with never a sob nor a sigh. I'm bound for that beautiful city my Lord has prepared for his own, where all the redeemed of all ages sing glory around the white throne. Sometimes I grow homesick for heaven, and the glories I there shall What a joy that will be when my Savior I see in the beautiful city of gold. We'll never pay rent for our mansion. The taxes will never come due. Our garments will never grow threadbare, but always be faithless and new. We'll never be hungry or thirsty, nor languish in poverty there. For all the rich bounties of heaven, His sanctified children will share. I'm bound for that beautiful city. My Lord has prepared for His own, where all the redeemed of all ages sing glory around the white throne. Sometimes I grow homesick for heaven, and the glories I there shall behold. What a joy that will be when my Savior I see in a beautiful city of gold. There'll never be grape on the doorknob, no funeral train in the sky, no graves on the hillside of glory, for there we shall never more die. The old will be young there forever, transformed in a moment of time. Immortal will stand in His likeness, the stars and the sun to outshine. I'm bound for that beautiful city. My Lord has prepared for His own, where all the redeemed of all ages sing glory around the white throne. Sometimes I grow homesick for heaven, and the glories I there shall behold. What a joy that will be when my Savior I see in a beautiful city of gold. I'm bound for that beautiful city. My Lord has prepared for His own, where all the redeemed of all ages sing glory around the white throne. Sometimes I grow homesick for heaven, and the glories I there shall behold. What a joy that will be when my Savior I see in a beautiful city of gold. What a joy that will be when my Savior I see in a beautiful city of gold.
The hour is approaching when the souls of men will hear a mighty shout resounding in the sky. With power and great glory, King Jesus will appear to take his children home to paradise. It will be a celebration for the ones who've chose his name, but total separation for the ones who've turned away. Are you ready for the trumpet? Are you ready for the call? Soon the angels will assemble to usher in the Son of God. Will he come find you faithful? Will he know your name at all? Every moment brings us closer. Are you ready for the call?
The Bible speaks of two men who were standing in the field, where one was taken and one was left behind. Two women in the kitchen, one goes and one remains. So get your house in order while there's time. In the cross there is salvation, through the blood there is the way to secure your destination on that resurrection day.
Are you ready for the trumpet? Are you ready for the call? Soon the angels will assemble to usher in the Son of God. Will he come and find you faithful? Will he know your name at all? Every moment brings us closer. Are you ready for the call?
There's an urgency to reach the world. We have no time to wait, for within the heart of mortal men the burning question now is raised.
Are you ready for the trumpet? Are you ready for the call? Soon the angels will assemble to usher in the Son of God. Will he come and find you faithful? Will he know your name at all? Every moment brings us closer. Are you ready for the call?
Will he come and find you faithful? Will he know your name at all?
Every moment brings us closer.
city when the saints go marching in. I'm just a weary pilgrim, loading to this world of sin, getting ready for the city when the saints go marching in. When the saints go marching in. When the saints go marching in. Lord, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. When the saints go marching in. When the saints go marching in. Lord, I want to be in the number. When the saints go marching in. I hope to see you, brethren, in that beautiful glad day, when the saints rejoice all over, marching home in their white robes. I hope to see you, brethren, in that beautiful glad day, when the saints rejoice all over, marching home in their white robes. When the saints go marching in. When the saints go marching in. Oh Lord, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. When the saints go marching in. When the saints go marching in. Oh Lord, I want to be in the number. When the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh Lord, I want to be among the number. Oh, when the saints go marching in. In the dark of the midnight, have I looked in my face, while the storm falls above me, and there's no hiding place. With the crash of the thunder, precious Lord, hear my cry, keep me safe till the storm passes by. Till the storm passes over, till the thunder sounds no more, till the clouds rolls forever from the sky. Hold me fast, let me stand in the hollow of the hands. Keep me safe till the storm passes by. falls forever from the sky. Hold me fast, let me stand in the hollow of the hands. Keep me steady till the storm passes by. It's a holy and beautiful city, whose builder and ruler is God. John saw it descending from heaven, when Patmos in exile he trod. Its high massive wall is of jasper, the city itself is pure gold. And when my friend tells me is fallen, mine eyes shall its glory behold. In that bright city, holy white city, I have a mansion, a home and a crown. Now I am watching, waiting, and longing for the white city that's soon coming down. No sin is allowed in that city, and nothing defiling or mean. No pain and no sickness can enter. No grave on the door, no be seen. Our sorrows and cares are forgotten. No tempter is there to annoy. No parting was ever unspoken. There's nothing to hurt or destroy. In that bright city, holy white city, I have a mansion, a home and a crown. Now I am watching, waiting, and longing for the white city that's soon coming down. No heartaches are known in that city. No tears ever moisten the earth. There's no disappointment in heaven. No envy and strife in the sky. The saints are all sanctified holy. They live in sweet harmony there. My heart is now set on that city, and someday